Frankfurt in fury. Angry teachers marched through Kentucky's capital protesting pension reform and education cuts. Kentucky has 120 counties and not one county school district had classes today. Now, most of those counties are on spring break. The others forced to close because of these teacher protests. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Gilbert Coursey. Elizabeth Woolsey has the day off. Much to get to today, including the potential for severe weather tonight and tomorrow. You can see that on future radar here behind me. Chief Meteorologist Mark Weinberg is timing out our threat. And lawmakers are overhauling the state's tax code, adding a sales tax to some services. Kentuckians would have to pay more for things like golf, pet grooming, and car repairs. We'll break down that and more. These are all big stories, and we have team coverage to explain every angle. Let's turn live now to WDRB's Chris Suter in Frankfurt with those teacher protests. Hey, Chris.
Well, Gilbert, thousands of angry teachers showed up from every Kentucky county here to the Capitol today to make their voices heard about the pension bill. And boy, did they.
We are teachers and we vote. We are teachers and we vote.
The rally started at the Kentucky Education Association building just down the road from the Capitol. Frankfurt was so packed, traffic was backed up, and teachers had to be bussed in from across town. They came with signs that read, "A pension is a promise, and we'll remember in November." Other signs took a direct shot at the governor. After the gathering at the KEA, the protesters walked up Capitol Avenue and began demonstrating on the State House steps. The message is clear. They're mad about the pension bill, and they demand respect.
Respect our jobs, respect our kids, their future, all the upcoming young teachers that are in school right now, to respect the work that they're putting in, because they're not doing that. And I think that that's the one thing that we all want our voices to be heard, because we don't feel like we are being heard.
Hopefully they'll hear us, that we care, not just about ourselves, but about Kentucky's future.
A lot of lawmakers in that crowd as well. WDRB's Lauren Smith joining me now to talk a little bit about what they had to say about the day.
Well, Chris, no doubt ultimately this rally is about the politics of education. Teachers demanding to be heard, and lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are listening.
Enough is enough.
It may have been the largest and loudest crowd the Capitol has seen, and Democrats in particular made themselves visible, hoping to harness this energy in the fall.
It is going to make a difference, and those that have not stood up and supported public education, supported working men and women in this state, are going to regret it.
I think that this will have a consequence on the elections in November, and I think that this will reverberate for many years to come. Teachers are not going to back down.
But the protest did not end at the Capitol steps. Teachers packed the inside of the Capitol, even as debate began on the budget bills.
It benefits the wealthy at the expense of the working class people.
This is a good bill, Mr. President.
Republicans say their budget plan actually does much of what these teachers want. Restores proposed cuts to education, has record per pupil spending, and fully funds pensions.
These are things that the Republicans in the House and the Senate are doing, not talking about. We're doing.
Enough. Representative Jason Nemes says the problem is Republicans have done a poor job of getting their message out.
And telling teachers, we're listening to you, we're talking with you, and we're standing with you. And these are the things that you should judge us on, and these are the things that we're doing with you for our children.
But these demonstrators and lawmakers on both sides do agree on one thing. They are not happy with the process. Like the pension bill, the budget bills are being introduced and passed on the same day.
It's going to be a lot like Easter. They're going to give us a bunch of eggs, and after they pass, we're going to have to open them.
I'm a freshman legislator. I'm disgusted by the process. I've heard that's how it's always been done. Well, it needs to stop.
What Governor Matt Bevin was doing during the rally, but Chris, late today he released a statement praising the budget plan.
It's been quite the week here in Frankfurt.
No doubt.
All right, Lawrence, thank you very much. And while the drama was going on outside here this morning, there's been a lot of high drama going on inside the Capitol as well over the budget. Our Katrina Helmer joining us now with that side of the story. Katrina.
The bottom line is Kentucky needs to increase in order to make this budget work, and to do that, this plan that just passed the Senate earlier today is in the House right now. It's going to be adding taxes to services that we haven't seen taxed before. I want to give you a live look inside the House chambers right now as they are debating. They just started debating House Bill 366, and if it's anything like so far today. We expect to hear lively debate in the House going on for a while. When it comes to the debate earlier in the Senate chambers, they wrapped up discussing the plan less than 2 hours ago. It was introduced by the Budget Conference Committee earlier this morning. Much of the disagreement about these tax changes is over how it's being done. Democrats saying there simply hasn't been enough time for discussion or public input. Now let's break down these changes. A 6% sales tax would be added to services like landscaping, pet care for small animals, golf courses, and fitness centers. Kentuckians would also pay sales taxes on repair and installation services like car repairs. The cigarette tax is going up 50 cents, meaning there would tax of $1.10 total per pack. The state's individual income tax would change to a flat 5%. Right now, it ranges between 2 and 6% depending on a person's income. Corporate income tax would be changed to a flat 5%. Right now, that tax ranges between 4 and 6%. Lawmakers claim this will generate about $480 million over the next 2 years. This revenue bill in the House right now for debate and then for a final vote. Also, to note, the Senate also passed the state's budget proposal earlier today, which is also heading to the House now.
As you can imagine, Katrina, this day has triggered a lot of opinions from all ends of the spectrum. Our Travis Ragsdale is back in Louisville monitoring social media. Travis.
Chris, lots of people fired up about both the pension bill and the budget plan on social media. We're getting a flood of comments on the WDRB News Facebook page right now. Let's start with the pension plan. Tricia says if this administration truly wanted to help, this wouldn't have been attached to a sewage bill in the cloak of darkness. But Mike points out, how good will the education be when the whole state goes bankrupt, leading to no pensions for any government worker or teacher or police officer? The only thing the legislature is guilty of is reining in an out-of-control debt. Is it painful? Yep. Is it necessary? Absolutely. Now let's talk about the budget bill. Charles says pet grooming is a luxury. Car repairs are not. This disproportionately targets the poor, as many of them can't afford a new car lease every 3 years. April says if you don't want cuts, you have to pay more in taxes. Money does not grow on trees, plain and simple. It isn't pretty, but it is a fact. We want to know what you think about these issues. Weigh in on the WDRB News Facebook page. We'll have more of your comments coming up at 4:30. Travis Ragsdale, WDRB News.
It's a busy day on the weather front as well. Potential for severe threats tonight, tomorrow, and a wind advisory later in the week?
Yeah, we've got a lot going on. I think we'll see some severe both tonight and tomorrow, and then we've got some strong winds here. Noon through 10 p.m. on Tuesday, wind advisory, and this is for winds over 40 to 45 miles an hour. So understand, not just your severe weather threat, you have very strong winds outside of that. Notice the hail threat tonight at 5%. That's not huge, but it is noteworthy. I do think there'll be some hail producers. And we look at radar right now across our area, and what you'll notice is everything is quiet in the current. And in motion, you'll notice there's a couple showers and thunderstorms to your south, but that's going to be blossoming as we go through the overnight hours. Cloudy right now, cloudy at 7 p.m., 9 p.m. if you have outdoor plans. I'm not overly concerned about rain and thunderstorms, but I do think that window of opportunity for some hail producers starts to increase for Louisville near midnight. And I would say midnight through around 3 a.m. for Louisville is going to have the best chance of seeing some of these storms. Some will produce hail as we move through the overnight hours. As we move through the day tomorrow, my sense is that we could see some isolated, but late we're going to have to see or watch for that severe weather threat to increase. So the probability here at 7 p.m. dry. We're dry at 9 p.m. with a 0%, and then 11 p.m. a 50% chance of storms. Temperatures climb overnight. We'll go into the 70s tomorrow, and then that's when we're going to introduce that severe weather threat tomorrow. The Storms Prediction Center highlighting our area and their severe weather risk with hail, damaging winds, and even isolated tornadoes. And I'm going to time out when to expect those storms in your area and detail who's at greatest threat coming up in about 10 minutes.
Mark, we'll check back with you soon. Thanks. The day after President Trump declared the death of DACA, a new immigration court opened in Louisville. Today, we show you why it sparked protests before it ever saw a case.
I support no. Justice, yes.
Protesters rallying at the corner of 3rd and Broadway Monday.
The deportation machine is not the American dream.
Hope their message echoed all the way up to the 11th floor of the Hayburn building.
Judges here will be making decisions that will be life or death decisions.
It's home to a newly created federal immigration court in Louisville.
The impact of a local immigration court is faster processing times,
bringing uncertainty and fear.
I'm a U.S. citizen.
To 17-year-old Andrea Brito.
So many families are getting separated. I'm about to go to college, but I'm still afraid of what's going to happen to my friends and family, and that shouldn't be the case.
The group's concerned this court will streamline deportations in an environment where President Trump's made clear his feelings on immigration.
Glaring loopholes in our laws have allowed criminals and gang members to break into our country.
Previously, immigration customs enforcement cases from Kentuckiana were handled via video conferencing with a judge in Chicago. Now everything from undocumented immigrants to those seeking asylum will be handled in a local court. Kentuckiana falls into this 6-state region for ICE enforcement, managed out of Chicago. As policies change, the numbers show the impact on people. Watch this. 2014, this is when President Obama expanded DACA. And over the next 2 years, you can see deportations drop by more than 60%. 2017 is President Trump's first full year in office. You can see removals jump from 2,300 in our region up to 5,300. And over the weekend, President Trump tweeted that DACA is dead.
You said the United States should open their borders and let everyone from Honduras come here.
The nation's divide even evident in the midst of this demonstration.
You have to be held accountable for the crimes of your ancestors.
Showing the tension of immigration, the big debate with no easy answer. Estimates say there are more than 150,000 undocumented immigrants living in Kentucky and Indiana.
Construction is about to begin for this Elizabethtown building, what will bounce into the city come summer.
Plus, there's only one way to get those Toys R Us liquidation sales. We'll tell you that, plus the bad news for shopping malls. That's coming up next in Business. A rocky day on Wall Street today. Stocks tumbled after China raised import duties on U.S. pork, apples, and other products. It is in response to President Trump's tariffs on imports of steel and aluminum. The Dow plunged nearly 459 points to finish at 23,644. The Nasdaq falls 193, closing at 6,870. No more ordering from Toys R Us online. The website shut down, and this message pops up telling customers to visit the brick-and-mortar stores for the going out of business sales. And if you're heading to the mall, look for more empty stores. The Wall Street Journal reports that empty space in shopping malls now at a 6-year high. The reason? You guessed it. More people are shopping online. A family is trying to bounce into Elizabethtown's recent business boom. WDRB's Lexi Ratterman explains where they're opening a new trampoline park. Lexi?
Young or old, anyone can enjoy a trampoline park, and that's exactly the idea behind Sky's the Limit.
I always wanted something that would be kind of a legacy that we could leave behind to our kids.
Kim Yates is a mother of 5, a wife, and now a business owner to Elizabethtown's newest attraction, Sky's the Limit, a trampoline park.
I mean, it's the American dream. You know, you build something from nothing, and it's so important for my kids to be a part of this process and to see that.
Trampoline parks like this have popped up all over the country, and Yates asked, why not Elizabethtown?
And I said, I don't understand why we cannot have something like this in Hardin County. Like, why do we continue to have to drive to Louisville to Lexington for our kids to have fun?
The Yates family closed on this land last week, which also includes the E-Town Swim and Fitness Center.
We're also bringing Sky's the Limit to the E-Town Swim and Fitness Center campus as a separate business.
And while ideas were bouncing around, the family hit some roadblocks with location. But now construction is ready to begin.
Rubik's Cube and Face Off would pretty much be right in front of us when you first walk into the building. Then the toddler zone, party rooms, Wipeout.
The Hardin County Chamber of Commerce says local businesses make the economy boom and give tourists a reason to stay.
One of the challenges for us is keeping them in town.
with enough things to do. Well, this gives them another opportunity for that. And of course, with kids and a trampoline park, it's perfect.
This 22,000 square feet building is only the beginning of this family project, with the option of expanding.
That's why we decided not to franchise, is because we wanted our park ever evolving, ever changing. Sky's the limit on what we can provide to our community.
The Yates hope to open Sky's the Limit on August 1st, with expansion starting as early as October. Lexi Ratterman, WDRB News.
WDRB weather is sponsored by Jarbo's Plumbing, Heating and Cooling.
We do have a severe weather risk posted for our area for tomorrow. Specifically, you'll notice that this area that you've got this hatched is directly on top of us. In a sense, that's the focus. We've got this slight risk of severe weather with this enhanced slight risk, or a higher end slight risk across our area. Damaging winds, hail, and isolated tornadoes. And most of us are in this focus area from the Storms Prediction Center. So we need to analyze what to expect as we go through the day. First off, we do have a wind advisory for tomorrow. Want to define that as well. That's for probably wind gusts over 40 to 45 mile an hour tomorrow. So it's going to be a very windy day, even outside of these thunderstorms. So since we've been very, very wet, these strong winds can do damage as well. So you've got two opportunities here to get some things, to have some problems. I think tonight it would be hail. I think that's going to be the threat during the overnight hours. And I think for tomorrow, winds and even an isolated tornado on the table. So this is what it looks like on the time lapse. 2 to 3 o'clock today, we saw a lot of cloud cover across the area today, and it has kept things chilly. And that's one of the things I've heard a lot. Mark, you're talking about severe potential, but it's chilly outside. I mean, how do you get severe weather if it's not that warm? And it's a legitimate question. The warm front is off to the south, and when this goes by, it will cause a significant increase of temperatures tonight, and then this big upper level low out to the west will move across the area. From the question mark of wind energy, it is way there tomorrow afternoon. Very strong wind energy. I mean, you get that by the idea that we're talking about even not in the thunderstorms. You could do 45 mile an hour winds. Right now we stand at 50 degrees. We've got a dew point of 39, which is very low. So things have to change. And like I said, you'll notice as I show you regionally, the temperatures start to increase. Not in southern Kentucky at 50, but you'll notice in Atlanta it is 80 degrees, and this warmth to the south will be surging northward, and it's starting to surge northward to the west. Wichita, Kansas, up 14 degrees in the last 24 hours, and this map will look way different tomorrow as we see much warmer moving in. So you can go and look at advanced track here through the night, and as this warm front approaches, it generates storms. Now what you'll notice is it's still cool at the ground, so that in a sense minimizes wind potential, but this still has hail production, and I think we're going to probably see some small hail. We'll probably see likely a number of people getting pea-size hail, and some could be up to nickels. We'll see a couple waves, one that goes through about midnight, another around 4 a.m., and then you'll notice that pushes to the north. And watch what happens to these temperatures once the warm front moves through. Notice by midday tomorrow we're at 70, and the data showing 77 degrees tomorrow. What we see here are two lines of thunderstorms, one that could be late afternoon and evening, and then one that's probably early overnight. Advanced track opens the window in Louisville around 8 p.m., shows the main line going through around 10 or 11. This is a very, very fast moving system that will likely produce wind damage across the area. I would say, if you had to ask me, I would probably refer to this as widespread severe weather. I think we're going to see a lot of warnings. Notice that tonight you've got the 5% probability of hail, generally along and north of I-64, but I think that dips a little bit further south of 64 in the western part of our area. Tonight, 53 degrees, 80% chance of storms. Some could be strong to severe. I think for Louisville, the window opens up late tomorrow. You'll notice winds gust to 40, 45 outside of the storms. It is a very warm day at 76, strong to severe late. Mike, and as warm as Tuesday is as cool as Wednesday is. From 76 to a high of 49 degrees.
I can't decide if it's winter still or it's spring. It's just struggle. We've had traffic. Take a look at this virtual view getting you in through downtown right now. And we're seeing a little bit of traffic building there across the 2nd Street Bridge in both directions. And that 3rd Street ramp coming off westbound 64. That's been a little slow for us today. I haven't seen any backups looking over at 65, whether you're on the Lincoln or the Kennedy today. And traffic moving very well on 65. Through Hospital Curve and out to the Watterson. Now the Watterson westbound, we're still extra heavy between Poplar Level Road and heading over to the 65 interchange. And 71, a very nice, easy ride heading up northbound from the Waterson all the way out to the Gene Snyder, and no backups over in Indiana 65 at 265. From the Oxmoor Auto Group Traffic Center, I'm Mike Marshall with WDRB Traffic.
Mike, thank you. The Louisville Bats return to the baseball diamond this week. The new rules in minor league baseball and the hot prospect who will start the season right here in Louisville. Louisville Bats open the season at home on Friday. WDRB's Sterling Riggs tells us about the rule changes you need to know about before heading out to the park.
The only thing that does not seem to change in the offseason for the Louisville Bats is the expression on Buddy Bat's face. He's consistent. However, a new season in minor league baseball always brings change.
There's a lot of nice young prospects. The Reds farm system overall, Sterling was rated in the top 10 by several minor league publications.
The 2018 minor league baseball season not only welcomes new prospects, AAA players must adapt to new rules. The pitch clock will go down from 20 seconds to 15 seconds when no runners are on base. Players and coaches can only make a total of 6 visits to the mound a game. And when a game goes into extra innings, a runner will be placed on second base to start the inning.
The game times just drift on way beyond 3 hours. And you're going to lose a generation of young fans if you're not careful, because the young people today, they want everything so fast. It's a microwave society, and baseball itself's got to take a hard look at itself, which it's been doing, and try to find ways to speed the game up.
Bats Senior Vice President Greg Galliette believes players and fans will quickly adapt to the new changes, just like fans will adapt to the new players on the field. He says fans should be very excited about one prospect in particular.
The #1 prospect in the Reds organization, one of the top 10 prospects in all of minor league baseball, and a kid that everybody says is the best hitter to come through this organization since Joey Votto. His name is Nick Senzel. He'll start the season with us. But I know the Reds are chomping at the bit to get him up there to Cincinnati, because every place he's been in minor league baseball so far for the Reds, he's hit over 300, and they expect him to do the same thing here.
Galliette also says the Bats will have an all-star cast of coaches, including a new team manager, Pat Kelly.
We're excited to have Pat here. He's a veteran of this league, knows his way around the league, and has won every place he's been. We're going to have Leon Bull Durham as our hitting coach. Leon's a former Louisville Redbird, but everybody probably remembers him as a big star for the Chicago Cubs. Dick Schofield, who probably played 15, 16 years as a major league infielder. He'll be our bench coach.
With promising prospects and a strong coaching staff, the Bats are hoping to improve on a 56-86 record last year. Mark your calendars. The Louisville Bats will host the Toledo Mud Hens on April 6th. First pitch should fly at 7 p.m.
Tell you what, right off the bat, coming out opening weekend, we're going to have a welcome back weekend that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, April 6th through the 8th. $5 field reserve tickets all weekend long. So it's kind of our way of saying thank you to the fans and welcome back to baseball.
Sterling Riggs, WDRB News.
A live look now from Frankfort, where lawmakers are debating the new budget plan and a huge change to the state's tax codes. Our team coverage continues next. Plus, the price tag that was just put on the potential deal for Walmart to buy Humana.
We're back on WDRB News at 4 o'clock with a live look at the House chambers, where the debate rages on over the budget. I'm Chris Suter. Good afternoon, everybody. What a day it has been here at the Capitol in Frankfort, and it's not over yet. It started with the sea of educators expressing their anger over what many of them are calling an assault on public education.
We are teachers and we vote.
Ticked off teachers take over Frankfort.
You know, you have faith in the process of your government, and the fact that it was done, you know, in the middle of the night and attached to a sewage bill is just underhanded and sneaky.
From WDRB's Skycam, you can see thousands of Kentucky educators spend part of their spring break making a big statement about the pension bill.
To respect our jobs, respect our kids, their future, all the upcoming young teachers that are in school right now, to respect the work that they're putting in, because they're not doing that. And I think that that's the one thing that we all want our voices to be heard, because we don't feel like we are being heard.
Protesters from every county filled Capitol Avenue outside the Kentucky Education Association in a matter of minutes. Traffic a mess. Those who didn't show up in the early morning hours had to be bussed in just to participate.
Hopefully they'll hear us, that we care, not just about ourselves, but about Kentucky's future.
Once everyone got here, the rally began. Creativity usually showcased in a classroom, now prominent in Kentucky's capital. Some signs read, "A pension is a promise." Others went after lawmakers directly.
They shouldn't be doing the job they're doing if they don't grasp it. They need to find a new job.
Protesters then took their message down the street to the steps of the State House.
I think it's important for our state's future, for our students, for our kids.
For Heidi Kearns, Missy Stebbins, and Beth Garman from Louisville's Field Elementary, it was a powerful morning. They say the impact of the bill could hit new and veteran teachers too hard not to put up a fight.
If new teachers coming in aren't paying into the retirement system, the fund won't be solvent. So it does affect us.
And if need be, they say, the battle is far from over. Those who teach our kids, hoping lawmakers have learned a lesson they won't forget. You know, some of those images from the WDRB Skycam were pretty unbelievable. It really showed you how many people were actually here. Lawrence Smith has been talking to Frankfort's mayor today a little bit about attendance. Lawrence?
Yeah, Bill May has lived here all his life. He says the attendance he estimates was about 10,000 people. But you know, teachers have been ever present here at this entire session, holding rallies, lobbying lawmakers, and they're listening. This was by far, though, the biggest demonstration and the loudest. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle could not ignore it. Democrats in particular have been very visible during this event, hoping to harness this energy for the fall. Republicans admit this protest shows they need to do a better job of getting their message out. And that message is that the budget and pension plans actually help teachers. Let's hear from both sides.
I think that this will have a consequence on the elections in November, and I think that this will reverberate for many years to come. Teachers are not going to back down.
That we've not done a good job of getting the message out and telling teachers, we're listening to you, we're talking with you, and we're standing with you.
The rally did not stop at the Capitol steps. The protesters moved inside the Capitol, chanting so lawmakers can hear them as they debate the budget bills. And Chris, there's one thing all sides agree on. Nobody likes this process where big bills like these are introduced and voted on in the same day.
Yeah. All right, Lawrence, thank you very much for your reporting. We do appreciate it. There's no doubt about it. Tempers were flaring today outside of the Capitol here. This afternoon is no different, but this time it's inside the Capitol. WDRB's Katrina Helmer has been watching the battle over the budget. Katrina?
As Lawrence we were hearing those tempers fly as people were then heading inside. Every single time there was a no vote on this revenue bill, we heard cheers in the gallery from teachers that came inside. They're debating this in the House right now. I want to give you a live look inside if we can. As they debate this, the bottom line is Kentucky needs to increase revenue in order to make the budget work. And to do that, part of the plan is with this revenue budget, adding taxes to services that have been taxed in the past. Now, earlier in the Senate, we saw a lively debate for 2 hours as it was being first introduced in the Budget Conference Committee earlier this morning. Much of the disagreement is exactly that. These tax changes, it's over how it's being done. Democrats saying there simply hasn't been enough time for any discussion or public input. Now, let's break some of these numbers down because there's a lot of changes. 6% sales tax would be added to services like landscaping, pet care for small animals, golf courses, fitness centers. Kentuckians would also pay sales tax on and repairs for installation services like car repairs. The cigarette tax is going up 50 cents, meaning there would be a tax of $1.10 total per pack. The state's individual income tax would change to a flat 5%. Right now, it ranges between 2 and 6%, depending on a person's income. Corporate income tax would also change to a flat 5%. Right now, that ranges between 4 and 6%. Lawmakers claim this will generate about $480 million over the next 2 years. Again, this revenue bill is in the House right now for debate and then for a final vote. Interesting to note, this is the first time in nearly 2 decades the tax code has been updated. Chris?
All right, Katrina, thank you. And you know, if people are sharing their opinions in person, they definitely are on social media as well. Travis Ragsdale is back in Louisville at the studio monitoring social media. Travis?
And Chris, we've been keeping an eye on social media comments all day long. Lots of you have been weighing in on the education issues and this new budget proposal. David says legalize cannabis and you will not have to worry about raising taxes. Barbara adds, keep in mind, with the exception of car repairs, everything else is basically considered a luxury, not a necessity. Linda says teachers are underpaid for what they do. They not only teach your child, they mentor, co-parent, instill manners, spend time outside of school with them, and sometimes provide them with rides for sports. And Nola points out, this did not happen overnight. The retirement money has been mishandled for a long time. It did not have to get to this point in time. If I were a teacher, I would be mad too. We still want to know what you think about these issues as well. Weigh in on the WDRB News Facebook page right now. Our coverage from Frankfort continues on WDRB News at 6. Travis Ragsdale, WDRB News.
Travis, thank you. Switching gears now to a not guilty plea today for the Louisville mom charged in the death of her 2-year-old daughter. 24-year-old Tabitha Beasley Harris walked into court in handcuffs. Officers arrested her on Friday and charged her with complicity to murder and criminal abuse. Her daughter, Eilena Harris, died in November, and Harris's boyfriend, Aaron Smith Spencer, was charged with murder back then. Court records say he severely injured the child while trying to discipline her. Harris is due back in court in June. Walmart could shell out as much as $50 billion to buy Louisville-based Humana. That's according to a Wall Street analyst. News of the potential sale broke last week with a report in the Wall Street Journal. The deal's not guaranteed and nothing's been made official or officially announced. Humana's stock, though, has climbed 30% in the last year, and that means it will be a lot more expensive to buy out this company. Health insurance rival Aetna would have only paid $34 billion last year to acquire Humana, but the deal fell apart amid opposition from the government. A trumpet legend makes his way to Louisville for a live performance with the U of L Jazz Ensemble. Practice going on today as Doc Severinsen will perform Saturday night at Jazz for Sight. The event is going on with the 90-year-old band leader from The Tonight Show back in the Johnny Carson days. He led the band for decades, remember? Proceeds from this event will be used to fund pediatric eye cancer research and vision screening for JCPS students, along with scholarships for jazz students. Concert starts at 8 o'clock Saturday night at Comstock Hall at the University of Louisville.
I think we've got a great candidate to produce widespread severe weather across our area tomorrow, and I'm going to time out when to expect those storms in your area and give you my analysis of the main threats next.
The next big thing is here. Download WDRB now on your Apple TV, Roku, or Amazon Fire. Get live streaming newscasts and weather, or watch it when you want on demand.
President Donald Trump invited Russian President Vladimir Putin to Washington, D.C. The Trump administration confirmed this news this morning. The White House is said to be among a number of potential venues Putin and Trump discussed during a telephone conversation last month. But Putin's spokesman appeared to deny this story, saying contacts on this issue are yet to start, if ever. Tensions between the United States and Russia escalated after Trump expelled 60 Russian diplomats following the alleged poisoning of a former Russian spy in the UK. A special guest hops into the White House. The Easter Bunny joined President Trump and the First Lady today for the annual Easter egg roll. Thousands of children packed the lawn to roll Easter eggs. Kids could also make cards for troops, decorate eggs and cookies, and read stories. This White House tradition dates back to 1878 when Rutherford B. Hayes was president.
WDRB weather is sponsored by Jarbo's Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling.
This is a busy 24 hours, so tonight we'll see a wave of storms coming through, and I think the main threat tonight is going to be hail producers. So you can see the Storms Prediction Center has us in their 5% probability of hail. What you'll notice is Campbellsville, Bowling Green, Columbia not included in this, and I actually think this is pretty well placed here. So Louisville is included in this. We also have a wind advisory that goes in effect from noon to 10, and I want to be clear, this is not related to the severe weather potential late tomorrow. This is outside of that. And understand what I'm saying here. We have seen a ton of rain. All you have to do is walk around in your lawn and you probably hear that squishy sound. And remember, those roots are anchored from your trees in that squishy soil. And so the bottom line here is 45-mile-an-hour wind gusts, which I think is on the table, could do damage tomorrow. And then you have the storms tomorrow. I feel like this one's a good candidate to produce wind damage and tree damage in the area because the tree root systems are probably not going to be able to withstand. And what makes this different than, let's say, what we saw a couple months ago is that the trees have leaves on them now. As we look around our area now, you can see we've got this small area that's not severe, not causing problems near Nashville. That's what's going to become the warm front later. Our temperature now 50. Wondering about severe weather. The dew point's only 39 and the air temperature is near 50. And you're probably saying, Mark, you talk about temperatures in the 70s and dew points in the 60s. I mean, that's not there. Well, let's look if it's going to get here. Our winds are going to go to the southwest and they will be strong. So let's look to our southwest. It's 48 in Litchfield, not warm enough. It's 48 degrees in Hopkinsville, not warm enough. It's 79 in Atlanta, and there's this warmth in the central parts of Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. That's going to surge to the north. And what you'll notice is with that, there are very high dew points in the 60s, and that's what's going to be surging, and that gives us fuel. How about wind energy? We need winds to be the, in a sense, engine for strong thunderstorms. This low has strong winds, and so what you have is fuel juxtaposed with strong winds late tomorrow, and that creates a severe scenario. So we look during the overnight, and this warm front's going to generate some strong to severe thunderstorms during the overnight. I think you're probably talking about midnight near Louisville, and some of these could have hail. I don't think you're talking about super strong winds tonight. I think hail would be the primary threat. I think that window ends around 7 a.m. and then we turn way warm tomorrow afternoon, going into the mid-70s. I don't think our severe potential is in the afternoon. I think evening it opens up in our west, and I think probably in the 9 to 10 o'clock time frame we see some strong to severe moving through Louisville. And this is very fast moving. So west of I-65, mid-evening through about 9, along 65 in the 8 to 11 o'clock time frame, and then in our eastern counties anywhere between 10 and 1. And I'm going to tell you something, this is moving through crazy fast. We will turn sharply cooler on Wednesday morning. Notice the data doesn't take us out of the mid-40s on Wednesday afternoon. You're talking about a frost and a freeze by Thursday morning. So the severe weather potential here, I really don't have any major problems with this. I might actually pivot it just a little bit further west, damaging winds, and I think hail are the primary threats here. That said, I do think that isolated tornadoes are on the table in this one. I don't think that the tornadoes would be the main threat, but I wouldn't take them out of the equation. But I do think we're probably going to see some widespread damaging winds, and I think some hail and even potentially some instances of larger hail on the table in this one. So tomorrow evening, you need to be weather aware. 53 degrees, 80% chance of rain and thunderstorms. Some could produce some hail during the overnight hours tonight. Smaller on the hail potential tonight. 76 tomorrow, very windy, winds gust over 40. We've talked about that severe weather threat. As we go mid-evening, we turn windy colder at 49 on Wednesday. Thursday, we've got a frost and freeze. Friday, we go to 49, but temperatures slip. And Mike, if you're looking for a spring-like weekend, it's not this weekend. Temperatures only peak near 50.
All right, thank you, sir. We've had the traffic has been a little bit heavy. Take a look. This is Dixie Highway, just south of the Watershed Expressway. We already had that heavy traffic. You can see from the Watershed Expressway down past Rockford Lane. Also a little heavy. Take a look at Cane Run Road coming over near the Shawnee ramps. This area right here, Cane Run, Crumbs Lane, very busy in both directions. And then looking at the Watershed eastbound, no problems coming off Dixie Highway heading out towards the airport. Now the Watershed westbound, we see that heavier traffic once again from Poplar Level Road and then hitting that ramp to southbound 65. And we've been moving very well in either direction of I-64 from the Watershed out to the Gene Snyder. Hurstbourne's a little bit busy, just north and south of the interstate, and a pretty easy ride so far on 64 at the Sherman-Minton. From the Oxmoor Auto Group Traffic Center, I'm Mike Marshall with WDRB Traffic.
Mike, thanks. Tom Lehnen now at Sports. And I started my bracket over again. It was so bad that I was like, if I could just get the final four right, it would be a win.
It's always easier to redo it.
So wrong. So wrong. I mean, couldn't even get the final four right. Every game I picked was wrong.
We are wrapping things up tonight.
National championship.
You don't
coming
have
up.
Michigan and Villanova.
No.
No. Well, we will hear from both of them. And the highest valued college basketball programs probably won't surprise you. The top 5 in sports. The Todd Pletcher-trained Audible moved up in the latest Kentucky Derby media poll after capturing Saturday's Florida Derby. Audible went from 6 to 2 in the latest poll. Audible, one of those who did not run as a 2-year-old. He trails Bolt Doro, who remains the clear top choice this week. They are followed by Mendelssohn, the runaway winner of the UAE Derby in Dubai. Rebel Stakes winner Magna Moon is 4th, then Justify from the barn of Bob Baffert rounds out the top 5. It is Michigan and Villanova for the big prize tonight in San Antonio.
John Beeline trying to get his first title. Jay Wright trying to make it 2 in 3 years, and remembering some of Beeline's teams from his Big East days at West Virginia.
They remind me of John's West Virginia teams. Wagner kind of reminds me of modern day Pittsnoggle, thinned down, eating healthier, little more skilled, but just a really well coached, disciplined team that you just expect at this time of the year. That's what you're going to play against, but also from John's team. So we're looking forward to a great challenge.
They can all shoot. They're really, really efficient on multiple positions. Yeah, usually when you play a good team, there's usually something you can give up and can make a defensive game plan, but it's not the case here. But you know what? It's not supposed to be easy. It's a national championship.
They may not be playing for the title this year, but our area schools still have the most valuable basketball programs in the country. This according to a Wall Street Journal report. An associate professor of finance at IUPU Columbus looked at programs throughout the country as if they could be bought and sold like a professional franchise. Kentucky is on top, worth more than $342 million. Louisville second, Indiana third, Duke and Kansas rounding out the top 5.
Pays to have legacy.
Yes. Pretty strong programs all around.
All right, thanks, Tom. We'll see you at 6.
All right.
Forget the downward-facing dog. Try downward-facing goat. The local farm offering, get this, goat yoga, and when you can get in on the next class. As we head to break, the Mega Millions jackpot for tomorrow, $40 million, and Wednesday's Powerball is $60 million. Okay, after this one, they may need to change the downward dog yoga pose to the downward goat. You heard me right. Sunny Acre Farm near Turkey Run Park has created Louisville Goat Yoga. The unique experience allows baby goats to run free during your yoga class, and apparently it becomes a pleasant distraction as some participants continue with class, as others just stop for a moment and play. Most normal yoga sessions involve a quiet, clean environment. This is a way of exercising that, well, we'll just say it gets you closer to nature, right? Louisville Goat Yoga is a 2-hour event, 1 hour of goat playtime, and then 1 hour of yoga with the goats. And the next class is coming up on April 7th. And Mark, I know that you're a fitness kind of guy. Mr. Fitness, would you, first off, do you do yoga? And would you like to throw in the added mix of goats?
First, I have a difficult time reaching the middle of my back to scratch it. Second, I do not want to be exercising with goats. And third, the weather tomorrow, we're watching potential for strong, severe both tonight and late tomorrow, Gil.
We're out of time. We're back at 6, 10, and 11. Good night.